Week 2 at Bridgeton. There was a lot of different things that I was able to see this week, including meeting with several different students about the reading assessment and the interview and everything. Originally, I chose a student who I was later told that I shouldn't be using, so I used him for my interview and for my interest inventory, in which I was able to find a lot about him and his reading level and everything like that. I also did my ELA on him, my assessment, and it was interesting to see because when later I picked another student after I was told not to choose him, she was actually worse reading level than the other student. I was able to do 2 assessments with both students, and one of which was letters, and they had to read the letters to me. And the first student didn't do terrible, but wasn't the best either. And then the other student, she would mix up a lot of different letters. For the uppercase letters, there was about 14 she got wrong, and then for the lowercase, there's about 11 or 12 that she got wrong. And it was simple things like a C for an S, but then later she understood that the C was something else, and then there was just many different mix-ups, G and J, Q and P, but the one I found interesting was even uppercase and lowercase, she said W instead of H, which was clearly not a sounding of the letter, more of she really didn't understand what the letter H was or what the letter W was, and I found that really interesting. So I was able to do that, and then I was able to do the other assessment of the 4 pictures of the story, which was the dog, and the dog had a bone and he was burying it, and then the squirrel came and dug up the bone and then took the bone and left. So I was able to get from her that in the first picture the dog was biting the bone, and then the second picture the dog was walking, and then she didn't know what was behind it, so she said, I don't know what was walking behind it. And then the third picture, she said the squirrel was digging the hole. And then the last picture, she said the squirrel takes the bone. And when I talked to another student who was higher reading and gave him the same assessment, he didn't know what it was behind the dog in the second picture. So I kind of understand why she didn't know what it was, but then later she knew what it was because she did call it a squirrel. But I did find it interesting that I guess it was just the illustration that they weren't really understanding what it was in the picture. So that was really interesting to see after doing my ELA assessments that it doesn't really, I don't know, it changes per student. They're not all the same. They don't have all the same knowledge, background knowledge, and everything else that all the other students have or may have. Also, since I was able to do these assessments with multiple children in multiple different levels, I was able to see the differences between students, but I was able to choose just one student who, after talking to the teacher, they're not sure that she was in preschool, so they're not sure why she is so low in her reading, and even math she was really low in. She really needs a lot of help, especially because she's not really sure what's going on, so she doesn't really pay attention. For example, there was a reading. They were sitting on the floor, and they were doing a picture, beginning, middle, and end of what happened, and the students had to tell the teacher what was happening, and she would write it. So she was not paying attention when that was happening. So it seems to me that because she doesn't understand, she just decides not to pay attention to the lesson, and which puts her further and further behind of the rest of the students. It was kind of interesting to see that the teacher let the same student, or the students that she knew would have the right answer instead of, engaging the other students in the activity in order to help them learn what was going on. The same students would answer the question, the same student would get it right, and, it just kind of went on from there. As for the assessments, it's kind of hard to assess kindergarten students because some of them are not able to read yet, some of them have difficulty reading still, and so it's kind of hard. She kind of gives them worksheets, and from the worksheets, that's what she assesses their, instructional needs and decisions and what she does. As for observational data, she's able to just, watch the student and see what was going on. And she does have like a little notebook that she writes down stuff in, but she doesn't carry around with her, which I find interesting because I wouldn't be able to remember what was happening in the situation, and I would definitely need to be carrying around something in order to assess students during observations. And so this was a pretty interesting week. It was really interesting to see the levels of kindergartners. I mean, I don't remember being able to read in kindergarten, but I always don't remember, I always felt like I was able to read, letters, know the alphabet and numbers and stuff, but it's very interesting to see the different levels of the students in this class. And I look forward to the rest of the weeks here and hopefully help out this student that needs as much help as she can get. Until next week.